Hello and welcome to News Central TV. I am Queen Celestine. Here are some stories making rounds beyond the continent. We begin with efforts to end Russia-Ukraine war, where U.S. President Donald Trump has indicated he played a role in arranging a potential meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin, though he stressed that the two leaders must decide on the timing. The Kremlin reiterated its refusal to commit to talks but did not rule out future negotiations. Zelensky described recent discussions at the White House involving Trump and European leaders as a key step towards ending the conflict. During the summit, leaders focused on security guarantees for Ukraine, deliberately avoiding the contentious issue of changing territorial borders.
President, if I can, first of all, thank you for invitation and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks to your wife, First Lady of the United States.
I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that. Just telling the president, I just spoke to President Putin indirectly, and we're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today. And we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues. And if we do, we have a good chance. I think if we have a trilat, there's a good chance of maybe ending it. But he's expecting my call when we're finished with this meeting.
Meanwhile, Russia says any peace deal on Ukraine must guarantee its security and protect Russian-speaking citizens. The statement followed a virtual meeting of about 30 Kiev allies co-hosted by France and Britain to prepare for possible negotiations. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned that talks between Presidents Volodymyr Zelensky and Vladimir Putin must be thoroughly prepared. Such a meeting would be their first since Russia's invasion more than 3 years ago. The war, which has claimed tens of thousands of lives, remains at a stalemate.
Без уважения интересов безопасности России, без уважения в полной мере прав русских и русскоязычных людей, которые живут на Украине, ни о каких долгосрочных договоренностях речи быть не может, потому что именно эти причины необходимо срочно устранять в контексте урегулирования. И еще раз, надо любые контакты с участием первых лиц готовить предельно тщательно. 18 августа по американскому времени они все говорили о том, что да, необходимо что-то делать, необходимо двигаться, явно реагируя на то, что президент Трамп и его команда, особенно после встречи на Аляске, гораздо глубже стали подходить к урегулированию этого кризиса, понимая, что необходимо устранить первопричины. О чем?
Joining us on this news to discuss this is a geopolitics analyst, Yemi Fajemison. Yemi, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Quinn. Thank you.
Yemi, how significant is Trump's role in facilitating a potential meeting between Zelensky and Putin, and what impact could it have on the conflict?
Yeah, it is significant because one thing we need to first of all realize is that the U.S. has always played a major role in maintaining the world peace, thanks to the soft power and hard power the U.S. has got. So really, it's only the U.S. that can really force Russia into the negotiating table. U.S. is actually the only country that Russia kind of worries about. So the role of President Trump here is significant. It might lead to a temporary ceasefire. It might lead to a lasting ceasefire. But what Putin is hoping to come out of this is hoping these things is going to end on his own terms. Because one thing we should also remember is under President Biden in national TV called Putin a killer. So that's a different contrast to what we're seeing now, where Putin went to Alaska and he's been rolled out the red carpet. So it's a different ball game now. So he's hoping this whole thing is going to end on his own terms. So I think the impact of President Trump is significant. We just need to wait and see if it's going to last to a permanent or temporary ceasefire.
What do you think are the Kremlin's main concern in agreeing to a peace talk based on its current stance?
From the Kremlin is a cocktail of things. So they could be, there's a reason they're thinking, okay, the willingness of President Trump to actually come out to speak to Putin. That's one thing. And again, the impact of the war is beginning to take a toll on the Russian economy. They're spending about 5% of government money on military contracts. They're losing thousands of men every week. And before the Alaska summit, President Trump chanting to make more such sanctions on Russian economy and even Russian trading partners. So the concern for them, it's a mixture of all these things. And I think what they're hoping to gain from the negotiation is they're hoping maybe Ukraine is going to be handing territories over to them. They're even hoping Ukraine to be handing over territories they haven't even won. So it's a dicey situation. So they want to be asking for territories they haven't even won fighting. So they're hoping maybe President Trump is going to help them do that by putting pressure on Zelensky. So it's going to be interesting weeks ahead.
How realistic is it that Zelensky and Putin will meet for the first time since the invasion, considering Lavrov's call for thorough preparations?
At the moment, some people are saying, proposing for them to meet in Switzerland, Geneva. Some people are proposing for them to meet in Rome. But I think in the past, Putin has always said he's not interested to meet Zelensky until certain conditions are met, which it calls it the root causes, which simply means the capitulation of Ukraine. So now he's changing tactics, and what I suspect is leaving the room or is leaving a door open to diplomacy. Maybe because of the exhaustion of fighting for the war for over 3 years. So on the one hand, I think they want to keep fighting. Just this morning, they were still shelling Ukraine by drones. On the other hand, they want to leave the door for diplomacy to stay open. So we can only see what the coming weeks will bring in terms of this meeting. But I think it's looking realistic that there's going to be a meeting between Putin and Zelensky.
I mean, all of this, what role can African countries play in supporting or facilitating diplomatic efforts between Russia and Ukraine?
African countries probably want to stay neutral for now. Diplomatic, they might be saying different things behind closed doors in private, but on the outside, they're going to want to be diplomatic. Because we shouldn't forget that the president of South Africa was humiliated at the White House by President Trump. And one of the reasons for that was because South Africa has been calling out Israel regarding their war crimes in Gaza. South Africa was one of the first few countries that raised the issue with the ICC. And those kind of things kind of annoyed President Trump. And that was one of the reasons why the president of South Africa was humiliated at the White House. So I think in Africa, generally, most of them want to be neutral. And also, we shouldn't forget that some of them are moving close to Russia as well. You see the military junta in Burkina Faso a few months ago went to see Putin in the Kremlin. So there's a lot of dynamics going on there. So I think most African countries for now will want to stay neutral. What they can do is just to offer some kind of diplomatic peace or solidarity for solution.
Thank you so much, Yemi, for joining us at this time.
Thank you so much for having me.
In the meantime, Switzerland says it could grant Russian President Vladimir Putin immunity if he attends a peace summit in the country, despite an International Criminal Court arrest warrant. Foreign Minister Ignacio Cassis emphasized that the immunity appeals only to official talks, not private visits. The announcement comes after French President Emmanuel Macron suggested Switzerland as a neutral venue for a potential summit between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Cassis cited Switzerland's neutrality and long-standing diplomatic experience as reasons it could host the talks.
J'ai expliqué avant, le Conseil fédéral a déjà défini quelle est la situation juridique. Elle s'est penchée de manière approfondie l'année passée là-dessus. Il a défini les procédures et les règles, et il a défini les règles pour, disons, donner l'immunité à une personne qui est sous mandat d'arrêt international si cette personne vient pour une conférence de paix, pas si elle vient pour des raisons privées, etc., mais pour des raisons de paix grâce à l'activité de la Suisse, de la Genève internationale.
Let's also tell you that a Russian drone strike hit a residential area in Kharkiv, Ukraine, killing at least 7 people. The attack on an apartment block has left rescue crews searching the rubble for survivors. The deadly strike is the latest in a wave of assault on Kharkiv, a city repeatedly targeted since the conflict began. The rising casualties highlight the grave risk faced by civilians. Authorities are urging residents to remain in shelters as the threat of further attacks continues. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, Venezuelan president mobilizes militia after US threats. Details of this and more after the break. Join us again. Welcome back. Heading to South America, where Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro announced plans to deploy 4.5 million militia members across the country in response to recent U.S. threats. This move follows Washington doubling a $50 million bounty on drug operations in the Caribbean. The U.S. has accused Maduro of leading a cocaine trafficking cartel and imposed sanctions while deploying naval vessels to the southern Caribbean. Maduro called for the formation of worker and peasant militias to defend Venezuela's territory and sovereignty amid escalating tensions with the United States.
Voy a activar un plan especial para garantizar la cobertura con más de 4.500.000 milicianos ameliados de todo el territorio nacional. Milicias preparadas, activadas y armadas. Fusiles y misiles para la fuerza campesina, para defender el territorio, la soberanía y la paz de Venezuela. 3 tareitas.
And in Serbia, hundreds of protesters gathered in central Belgrade to demand accountability over allegations of police brutality made by student Nikolina Sindjelic. Sindjelic accused the police commander of physically assaulting her and threatening her with rape during a demonstration. She and another student from the Faculty of Physics reportedly endured slaps, punches to the head, and having their hair pulled. Protesters marched to the headquarters of the police commander's unit, chanting in solidarity and calling for urgent action over these serious accusations.
Držali su nas tamo nekoliko sati gde su svakoga psihički maltretirali. U tom trenutku smo jedan dečko i ja izvukli, nažalost, deblji kraj gde je pripadnik, to je komandant te jedinice, krvnički tukao tog dečka i mene, gde nas se naziva pogrdnim imenima, govorio mi da sam kurva i da će da me siluje pred svima, da ću zažaliti što sam rušila državu.
Mislim da je to jedna eskalacija koja pokazuje bezidejnost ljudi koji su na vlasti trenutno. Dakle, trebalo je od početka saslušati signale koje dolaze od ljudi, od studenta i zaključiti šta treba da se radi. Ovako, nažalost, ulazimo u jednu spiralu nasilja koja ja ne vidim da može da ima dobar zaključak ako se ovako...
Dotakli smo dno i mi sada, normalni građani, pokušavamo da pokažemo šta se tačno nalazi na tom dnu, što nam diktira život zadnjih više od deceniju, tako da to je moj komentar.
Žene koje izlaze na protest su najranjivija grupa. Vas nema ko da čuva. Ako ja idem na protest, ja bih trebalo da se obratim policiji i da kažem policijo zaštiti me, a ne da me policija udari i da me privede u neki podrum zgrade vlade da da mi preti silovanjem i da me moli da prestanem, da treba da ih molim da prestanu to da rade. To je potpuno jedno neprimereno i nedopustivo ponašanje prema ženama.
In the meantime, Spanish firefighters continue to battle wildfires that have been raging across the west and northwest of the country for over a week. The fires have scorched approximately 373,000 hectares, mainly affecting the northwestern provinces of Zamora and Leon, Galicia's Orense province, and Caceres in western Extremadura. On Sunday, 2 firefighters lost their lives, 1 in Spain and 1 in neighboring Portugal, bringing the death toll to 4 in Spain and 2 in Portugal. The situation remains critical, with homes under threat, lockdowns enforced, and evacuations ongoing. And in South Asia, rescuers and residents in northern Pakistan continued their search for survivors after torrential monsoon rains over the past 5 days have claimed nearly 400 lives. Authorities warn that heavy downpours are expected to persist until the weekend, hampering rescue operations and raising fears of additional casualties. This year's monsoon season has so far claimed almost 700 lives across Pakistan. Officials say the intensity of the rainfall is about 60% higher than last year, highlighting the country's extreme vulnerability to climate change. To the Middle East, Qatar's foreign ministry spokesperson Majid al-Ansari has warned that failure to reach a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas now could result in a humanitarian catastrophe worse than any before. He made these remarks after Hamas accepted a new 60-day ceasefire plan, proposing partial hostage releases and aid provisions and signaling readiness for renewed talks. The plan, mediated by Egypt and Qatar with U.S. backing, awaits Israel's response.
هذا الرد طبعا الآن لسنا فقط كما نقول دائما في لحظة محورية وفي لحظة حاسمة وما إلى ذلك. نحن الآن في لحظة إنسانية فارقة. إن لم نصل إلى اتفاق الآن فنحن أمام كارثة إنسانية ستجعل الكوارث التي سبقتها يعني تتقزم. We are yet to receive a response from the Israeli side, so we cannot make any claims that a breakthrough has been made. But we do believe it is a positive point when we have a positive response from Hamas over the agreement that was there on the table.
Elsewhere, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan have signed an agreement in Yerevan. This comes after talks over a planned corridor linking Azerbaijan with its exclave near the border with Iran, part of a peace deal signed at the White House. The corridor is a key element of the broader peace deal that was signed at the White House. Under the agreement, the United States will hold development rights for the proposed routes, which would connect Azerbaijan to its Nakhchivan enclave, passing near the Iranian border. In North America, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has firmly dismissed claims of coordination with the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration on Project Potero. She stated that no agreement has been reached with the DEA and expressed uncertainty about the basis for the DEA's statement during a press briefing in Mexico City. The Mexican president clarified that the only recent interaction was a workshop in Texas involving Mexican police, and that the only formal agreement nearing signature is with the U.S. State Department, based strictly on sovereignty, mutual trust, territorial respect, and coordination.
El día de ayer emitió la DEA un comunicado diciendo que hay un acuerdo con el gobierno de México para una operación que llaman Portero. No hay ningún acuerdo con la DEA. La DEA emite el comunicado, no sabemos con base en qué. Nosotros no hemos llegado a ningún acuerdo, ninguna de las instituciones de seguridad con la DEA, en este comunicado. En materia de seguridad, lo único que hay con el gobierno de Estados Unidos, que es un acuerdo que lleva varios meses trabajándose, es un acuerdo que está prácticamente listo o que ya está listo con el Departamento de Estado de los Estados Unidos.
And that's all on Beyond the Continent. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Queen Celestine.